This is Professor Edges again, and this is the first in a series of short clips that hopefully will help you with your argumentative essay. One of the ways that I like to look at this paper is through a business model, meaning that anytime an advertiser tries to convince someone to buy a product, they go through and think about what's going to be the best way to persuade their audience. In the same way, you can think about selling your idea or your suggestion to your audience in an argumentative essay. So these concepts in the College Writer 3rd edition are covered in chapters 18 through 20, but certainly they apply to any argumentative essay that you might ever write. First off, we need to understand that persuasive messages and argumentative essays are very different from other writing types. That's because the audience has a choice. They can choose to agree with you or disagree with you or somewhere in between. And furthermore, they may not even want to make a choice. They may not want to listen to you at all. So you have to figure out how to first get them to listen, and then secondly, how to get them to decide the same thing that you're suggesting. So let's take a look at the writing process. In the first step, planning stage, you want to analyze the rhetorical situation. So think about your purpose for writing. Is it very clear? Do you know what exactly it is that you're trying to accomplish? Are you just stating an opinion on something? That's a position paper. Are you trying to propose some type of action that readers need to take? Or are you addressing a problem and offering a solution? So make sure that both you understand what you're going to do and that your reader is going to be able to understand what it is that you're suggesting. Then you need to think about both the positives and negatives of what you're suggesting. You may gravitate towards just thinking about the reasons your ideas are good, but you have to allow the possibility that there may be negatives to your proposal or claim. That way you can appropriately address those and talk about them with your audience. Then finally, think about your audience and what they might need. What is their knowledge or background level? How much context do they need to be explained before they're ready to make a decision? Are they going to be more motivated by facts and figures? Or are they going to be more motivated by compelling stories? What might be best for them? Part of that is picking the right combination of both logical and emotional information. So this is stuff that you go out and research, and you want to conduct that research appropriately, meaning that you don't just Google random stuff and look at random blogs and websites. You want to use more credible information than that. So say you're going to write a paper on AIDS epidemic in Africa. You might find a story of a little girl who has to grow up in an orphanage because both of her parents succumbed to AIDS. Certainly that would be emotional laden information. And then if you saw a Center for Disease Control study that showed the percentage of people that might become infected with HIV, and that number was appalling, that would certainly be logical information because it's based on facts and research. Then as you do that, you want to make sure that some of the information shows the audience how if they agree with you, it's actually going to benefit them. So why is it a good idea for them to agree with what you're saying or switch over to your side? And then think about what's going to be their probable reaction to what you're saying. Are they going to be shocked at first? Are they going to be angry? Are they going to be inquisitive? And that really depends on the situation that you're writing on. Then whenever you go to write the message, there are a few general things that you want to think about with the language that you use. First, always be positive and polite. It's okay to attack ideas, but it's not okay to attack people, so don't use any rude language. Secondly, think about the cultural background of the audience that you're discussing with. Think about the demographics, their age, how much education they have. That's going to change how you might want to address your audience, and certainly with the argumentative essay you can pick a particular audience that you're writing to. It doesn't have to be just a general everybody paper, because if you've ever tried to convince everybody in the world of one thing at one time, you know that really can't be done. Then the third thing that you want to do is make sure that your audience believes what you're saying is the truth, especially when you're providing that logical information. And in one of the next segments we'll discuss that a bit more. Then whenever you get to the completing stage, here's where you really need to pay attention to detail. How have you organized your message? Have you included a good mixture of information? On a surface level, proofreading is very important here. It's very hard to convince somebody of something if you can't even spell things correctly. It can be kind of embarrassing, and honestly, whether it's right or wrong, sometimes it reflects on what people perceive as your intelligence. So if you have a bunch of typos, then people are going to think that, well, you don't care enough about this message to even make sure that you spell things correctly, so why should I care to listen to you? Thirdly, we'll do peer review, but you really want to have people read this one as much as you can. Get different kinds of people to read it, not just people that you assume are going to agree with you. See what their reaction is to it. That's a good way to understand what your audience needs and what they might do whenever they read the message. And then never at any point in the message assume that you've got the best idea ever. There's always the possibility that somebody could have another idea that's a better compromise between what you're suggesting and what your opponents might suggest. So try not to get too arrogant and egotistical in your writing. Sometimes it's very hard to do, especially when you're writing on an issue that you feel very passionately about. But you don't want to come off that way. It serves no real purpose.